Hi, it's Jimmy, and I'm going to be talking about the book Wakenhyrst by Michelle Paver. So this is a proof copy that I was lucky to be given before the book came out, but the book is out now. It came out in April, so you've got no excuse not to go and check it out. I was lucky enough to meet Michelle Paver as she dropped by the shop before the book came out, and we had a good chat about Wakenhyrst. It's a gothic novel. It's set in the early part of the 20th century, before the First World War. It's set in Suffolk, in the Fenlands. So if you know the Fenlands, they're in East Anglia, and nowadays they're very flat, fairly empty, big expanses of land where they grow a lot of crops and things like that. But historically, they were kind of marshlands. They were all underwater not too long ago, and they've been drained over the centuries to the point that now they're dry and flat. But in Wakenhyrst, there's one bit of raw fen, undrained fen, and the main story happens nearby this undrained, still wild fen. It starts off with a bit of a hint of what might or happen in the story, might or might not. The details are a bit unclear, but you get a hint that there's a murder that's happened or that's going to happen, but there's a lot of mystery around it, and there's a lot of things that don't quite seem to add up. And then you're launched into the story some years before that murder or apparent murder. So as the story develops, you've got this sort of seed of intrigue in the back of your mind. How is this going to go? How do we get from where we start to this murder? So it's got a kind of a bit of a thriller feeling to it in some ways. I ended up finishing it at 3 in the morning or something, because I was just reading it, intending to just read a bit more, then go to bed, and then I just had to read the next bit and the next bit until I'd finished it. So it is quite compelling. It's very atmospheric. The fen setting is quite atmospheric. There's the relationship between the main character and the nature around where she lives, and it's set in sort of a big old manor house, and there's the garden comes into it, the water, the marshy fen, the wildlife. There's a magpie on the cover, and that is relevant as well. So it's very atmospheric, it's very compelling. I like that aspect of it, quite thriller-like. It focuses on a young girl who, from a wealthy upper-class family, and her very strict and cruel, really, father. It felt to me like a bit of a combination of classic early first half of the 20th century gothic novels like Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, mixed with a very contemporary feeling that put me in mind of something like Ghost War by Sarah Moss. The comparison with Ghost War maybe makes sense, especially because they both involve a young daughter and a cruel father, and they both talk about different types of domestic abuse in quite frank and straightforward ways that feel quite contemporary and part of a more open way of talking about those things, and a more direct way of talking about those things that we are coming into a bit today, that you see less or in different ways in older books. I think it's a cracking read. It's exciting, it's interesting, it's touching, and if you like things like Rebecca and old gothic stuff, then I think you'll like it. If you like contemporary things about difficult family interactions and gender roles and things like that, I think you'll like it. If you like a good compelling thriller, maybe it's a good one to take on holiday or take on a plane or something, I think you'll like it. So I do recommend checking out Wakenhyrst by Michelle Paver. Thanks for watching. If you want to get in touch, you can leave a comment on YouTube. You can get me on Twitter at Jimmy, JIIM_E, or on Instagram at Jimmy_can_read. Cheers.